Hello out there in YouTube land and in Twitch land. It's your old pal Frosty Nut with some DIY video series. Now, before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to BehavingBeardly, who does a wonderful series of DIY videos for streamers that are very self-explanatory. They're very layman terms. There's a lot of DIY videos out there on how to do this and how to do that. But I do like BehavingBeardly. He's been a streamer for a few years now. He's also a Twitch partner, so that's great. And he's a Sea of Thieves partner. But he does a whole series of DIY videos for streamers on how to set up your Stream Deck, transitions, how to do all this stuff with Streamlabs itself. So he goes into the technical side of that sort of thing. I am not going to do that sort of thing because he's already covered it. And if you want to check out those videos, it's BehavingBeardly, and I'll put a link below. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of design videos, graphic design stuff. We're going to do a little bit of Blender and After Effects and painting and that sort of thing. But this video I'm going to start out with by showing you how to create a very basic, simple overlay for your stream. Whether it's your live scene, chat scene, your ending scene, your be right back scene, your starting soon scene, or whatever it is. Very, very simple. That's what I'm going to show you how to do today. All right. So to get started, all you need is either Photoshop or Paint.net. And I use Paint.net. I do have Photoshop, but I like Paint.net. It's only like $10 to buy it. Very cheap program, very reasonable price. And it's a breakdown, like a mini scale Photoshop. And it works extremely well. So let's get into that. Okay, so here we are. Why has my green screen not worked again? Dear oh dear. Okay, we'll just put our filter back on. I don't know what happened to my filter there on my green screen. Let me just fix that up for a second. I had that all corrected. And now it disappeared again. There we are. That's better. Okay, all right. So we have behind us, we have Paint.net. And this is, as I say, this is a mini breakdown. It's very cheap, very reasonable price, and it has a lot of effects similar to Photoshop. So Paint.net, get it and work with it. It's fantastic. So very simple. The first thing you want to do is just go to New, File, New, and create a new canvas. I'm going to say 1920 by 1080. Very, very simple. Don't want to change anything else. Just 1920 by 1080. There's our canvas size. That is the size of our windows when we stream. Now, we're just going to create a very simple overlay. You can get as funky with it and as technical with it as you like to. We're just going to create something very impressive and very simple. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a gradient. The first thing I'm going to do is create a new layer. So it puts up a PNG layer, and I'm going to take the layer that's already labeled background, and I'm just going to delete it by pushing the little X down here. Delete it. So we have our PNG background to work with. Very, very simple. Easy do. Now, just grab your gradient tool, which is shortcut Shift G, I think it is. Shortcut key is G, or just click on the little gradient tool there and choose the gradient colors going from and to. In this case, you'll see the primary color is already set to black and the secondary color is white. So if I do a gradient swipe, like that's by holding down the left mouse button at the top corner of the canvas size and drag it across diagonally, you see it goes from black into white. Well, we don't want that. So I'm going to make it a little bit colorful. So I'm going to choose as my primary color the black, but I'm going to change the secondary color to a very, very light blue. So that we have, in fact, I'm going to make it a little bit lighter as well. Almost white, like that. And we're going to flip that back around so that black is the first color. And I'm going to hold down the left mouse button. You see the screen changes to blue, but when I drag the mouse in a diagonal manner, it goes from that dark to that blue. Very, very easy. So you get a nice gradient effect. You can do that any way you like. You can do it upwards, downwards, sideways. I'll show you. If we go from the top to the bottom, we get it from the top to the bottom like that. We can go from the bottom upwards if we want as well. Where's my little cross? I'm losing it in my eyesight. There we are. We can flip it around while we're still holding down the mouse button. We can do all sorts of different ways of doing it. All right. But we'll just go, as I say, before. We'll just start it fresh. We'll just hold down the right mouse button and we'll go from the top left hand corner down diagonally to the bottom right hand corner. Now, if that might look too dark to you, that's fine. You can change that to the gradient if you want. You can actually change it on the fly. We might change it to, say, a brownie colored, and you can see we have a brown going into the blue. So we can do this on the fly without having to do the gradient again, or we can just fiddle around with the color slider until we get something that sort of looks more like what sort of maybe we're trying to achieve. So I don't want it to go completely dark, but I do want a bit of a darkness to a lightness about it, but looking still like it's in the color range. So I'm going to actually go to a dark bluish area, almost to a darkish blue, to a light blue, but it's still not giving me quite what I want. So I'm going to choose a darkish black down here, which gives it more of a grey, but it's not so black, but more of a greyish sort of slide across. So that'll be our base canvas that we'll work with. Most of the colours here, and this is sort of dark and going across. Now, the next step you want to do is you want to go to a website called cooltext.com. Now, I have no affiliation with these guys at all or anything like that, but you can just Google cool text generator, and there's several different websites that do graphic design for you of text and stuff on the fly, and it's very, very cool stuff. So when you first load it up, it might have a word up here. It'll show you logo, shadow, image, composite, and the text size. And down the bottom, if you scroll down, you'll see all sorts of text, all sorts of fonts and stuff like that. And you can go through them and have a look. Simple as this. And you might say you want something like, let's see, St. Patrick. That looks pretty cool. To my Valentine with love from Cool Text. That's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. Season's greetings. There you go. Happy Halloween from Cool Text. Cringe. Oh, that looks pretty cool. Oh, you can go and look at most popular if you want, and it will show you what the most popular ones are. 0 free popular ones now. Okay, look. Let's look at elegant. Okay, so there's some nice elegant designs and so on. You got embossed, which is really cool. Glowing. There's even some animated ones, but beware the animated ones. They are GIFs, and we're not going to be working with animated ones for this tutorial, because they won't work if you do it the way I'm going to show you, because they're GIFs. You need to overlay them onto your scene, but we don't want that. Science fiction. Let's have a look at science fiction. There's a couple of nice ones. Okay, look, let's say spaced out. That looks pretty cool to me. So let's say you want to say this is your chat scene, but you want something like, say, you might want to create 3 different windows. You might want to create a camera window for yourself. You might want to create a chat window, and you might want a game window. So let's just make some little signs. We'll just say game. Or actually we'll say current game. I'm just typing this in capitals. Current game, and it'll composite that out. And we can choose the size. Now, that's going to be quite big at 120. I don't think we want that. So let's make it 40. I think I've got to do it as 40 actually. And that will change the size of it. There we are. And we will just simply have a look at the shadow, which will be the next thing. No, it already has a shadow. We'll look at image. We want it to be, make sure it's PNG with transparency if you have that option, not GIF or JPEG. We want PNG with transparency. So make sure that that is on, and then just go to composite. Now, some of them will actually, there's a whole lot of other logos there, textiles. Some of them will actually allow you to add shadows. You can move the shadows around. So if we want to actually have one that's got a shadow, for example, we can have a look at, say, let's say Supernova. Let's have a look at Supernova. That one doesn't give me the shadow design. That's pretty good text font though. Let's have a look at Cool Metal. That's pretty good. Logo gives you a gradient on this one. You can adjust the gradient. Some of them will give you a bit more shadow. If we want a shadow one, we can choose that as well. Gradient bevel. That one might have, yeah, there we go. So gradient bevel has the shadow option. And you can say you want the shadow offset maybe 5. It will adjust it. And you might want it darker. So instead of that, we might want a light blur. And that will give it a light blur. And we might want to keep fiddling around to adjust the position of the shadow till we get it where we want. See, at the moment you can't really see it, so let's increase that to an 8. And the more sort of shadow you get behind it, the more it's going to sort of stand out as if it was 3D. So that's pretty good. I like that. It sort of stands out a little bit. It's a little bit off, so we might drop it down 2 to 6. And there we go. That gives it a nice little sort of a shadow without too much hassle. And we can change the color of the blur, or actually change it to, again, a medium blur or a heavy blur. Again, this is all just fiddling around with things. I actually like light blurs, and the opacity, you can change that to make it more visible or less visible. There we go. So that looks pretty cool to me. So we might just use that one. Now we've got to go back to text, and we just put in our, let's say, what was it, current game. And I'll put it all in capitals, and there it is. Now we'll just make sure we get a size of 40, because you know, you can have them big and you can shrink them down. That's fine. Once you get used to sort of varying sizes and that, you'll realize that, you know, sometimes it's a bit of a hassle to constantly shrink them down. So you try and choose the sizes that you want, and then once you've got that, you simply go to create logo, and it will create it, and then you just download it. It will download that as a cool text file and show that in the folder. And what you will see in your folder is this will be in your folder. Now, how do you bring that into the game? Well, the first thing you got to do is, depending on where you downloaded it, is move it somewhere where you can work with it. So if you've moved it into, if you've downloaded it to your C drive under your normal downloads, I recommend moving that out to a folder you might have as artwork or miscellaneous artwork or something like that. I have one called miscellaneous artworks, and I'll move it there. And so now we go back to our paint, and what we will do to bring that in is we will go to layers, and we will simply import from file. This is very important. This is very, very important you do it this way. Import from file, and then you choose your artwork that you've just wanted. In this case, we did current game. All right, open, and there it is, right there. Now that still might be a little bit too big, but that's all right. We can still adjust it down, or next time we can just create a smaller sized font logo again. But let's say we size that down and we put that there. And let's say we're going to put our current frame for our window frame for our current game that's playing, and we're going to put that there. Now don't forget, we can move this around and resize it again later. That's not an issue. But what we're going to do again, now we're going to press escape, so it gets rid of that. And we're going to import a new layer, again, import from file, and we're going to import a frame. Now I've downloaded these frames from the internet. You can simply find them by just Googling PNG files, webcam frames, or clip art, graphic artwork. Make sure you do find it as PNG. That's very important. So here's our next layer. You'll notice there's 3 layers now. We've got a background layer, cool text layer, and our clip art TV frame, and we're going to size this to a size that's reasonable. We're going to move it up here, and we might make it a little bit bigger because it's a current game that's playing. So we might want it to be sort of up here, but we want to have a chat window as well. So we might want to look at the sizing for the chat window, but I'm going to just play around with it and space it till where I'm happy with it. So maybe just a little bit smaller, because we're going to have a chat window. All right, that should be good. And we can then come back and click on our layer, press escape, click on our layer for cool text, and we can move the current game one around until we're happy with it. Now, see how it's sliding underneath? That's all right, because that layer is underneath. Now, if we want that text to appear on top, and this is what I want to do, I'm going to just simply click on the layer and swap them. Very simple. So now, when I move the, when I move the cool text one, you'll see it goes over the top of the game, right? So I might want to put the actual text sort of halfway onto the frame, like that. And that looks pretty cool. I'll just center it a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Then we press escape. That's good. That's done. Now let's say we want to add our chat window. So we'll come back to layers, import from file, and we'll choose a different style of frame that we've downloaded off the internet, and we might just choose a very simple one, so like that. So it's a nice square one, and we'll bring that down. We'll resize it a little bit, and you will need to, in your actual Streamlabs, you will need to create your chat window sizing for here as well, to make sure that you have the ability to do that. And we can put like a text over here that says chat, or we can bring it out a bit more, or we can put it up here if we want, anything like that. Chat windows are pretty sort of good underneath, like that, and we can space it out a little bit. Actually, we can space it right out, because we can adjust the size of our chat window in Streamlabs to fill that area. And there we are. That will be our chat window. Press escape. That's done. Now, next thing you got to do, you might want to create a frame. Unless you want your face, your full self covering, you don't want a frame. But if you want a frame for your webcam, then we'll go back to our clip art. We'll find a frame that I like to use. Here's one here. Just install that. And I will put that and size it out so that this is going to be where my face is going to appear. All right. Very, very simple. And then we'll just size that to where we want it. And of course, press escape. Go to layers again. Import from file. And I've already created like my name, Frosty Nut. And I'm just going to import that one. Put that up the top like so. That is pretty much done. Are we finished? No, we're not finished. All right, now this is a very, very important key step, guys. Very important key step. Go back to your background layer, click on it so it's highlighted. Grab your eraser, and choose a size that's visible enough, say 40. No, actually, we can go bigger than that. We can go to about 200, and with it on that background layer selected, that's the key. Start erasing in the frames, in and around the frames, not outside the frames, just in and around the frames, like so. And this is to provide the transparency background to come through. So it's very important that this is done, otherwise it's not going to work right. So you just want to just erase all the background that is inside that frame area. Now, if you want to get in the smaller areas, you simply just choose a smaller brush. But we're just going to go big for now to highlight all of this out. Get it all out of there as much as possible before we change to a smaller brush. Make sure you do not go outside of the frame, because if you do, you see what happens? You're erasing the whole background, and we don't want that. Okay, so just erase inside the framework itself like that. And we're just going to change it to a smaller brush now to get into the corners, say about 60, and we're just going to go up into the corners, down, make it as neat as possible so that you get all of the background that is in the frame area removed. Oops, I made a little boo-boo there. Oops. Don't worry if you make little boo-boos. Control Z to undo it. So you're not going to damage anything by making a boo-boo. It's always good sometimes to unclick the mouse. Like you're holding down, see if you make a mistake, you can just Control Z. But you got to hold down the mouse button to erase, the left mouse button. And if you make a mistake, like I just did then again, just Control Z. But if you remove a top corner, let go of the mouse button, and then come back and do another bit, let go of the mouse button, then hold the mouse button down. It's not so bad if you make a mistake like that. You can just undo that little bit and correct it again. Alright, so just try to keep it inside the frame. That's all you want to do. Once you've got all that cleared, we'll move on to the next step, which is very simple. Okay, very, very simple. But if you don't do this, it will not give you the effect. So just make sure that you get rid of everything, all that background inside your frames. Anywhere you've got the frames, that is. Not anywhere else. Alright, and once you're satisfied you've cleared it, then you can simply get ready to save it. Alright, so once we've cleared all that out, we just have our PNG areas available for our frames. Simple. Final step, once you're happy and satisfied with your screen, is to come up to File Save, and go Save As, and the first thing you want to do so that you can easily work on it again is do it as a PDN, which is a project. I'm just going to call this Test Chat. Test Chat, and it'll automatically name that PDN. Why is that important? Because that saves it as all the layers together, like all the layers broken down. So if you ever want to come back and work on it, it's so easy. Your layers will be there again. If you're satisfied and that's your final design, once you're happy with that, then go simply File, Save As, save it as whatever you name you want to call it. In this case, I'm going to leave it as Test Chat. And I'm going to change it to save as PNG. Not JPEG, not bitmap, not GIF, not anything else. PNG, because that will allow us the transparency. So now if we save that, let it do it auto detect. Don't worry about any of these other options. Just go OK. Flatten, which flattens the layers down. And here is our screen. Now, if you want that to come up in Streamlabs, very, very simple. So what we're going to do is we're simply going to add a new source, which will be image. We're going to add source image. We're going to call this new image Test Chat. And I'm going to add the source. Now you can't see this because you should know how to do this. This is in Streamlabs. I'm explaining what I'm doing. You should be able to follow through. Browse to the file that I want to click on. And then I just find the file, which was called Test Chat. Right, Test Chat PNG. Go open. Done. And there it is. There is our Test Chat PNG. So now, what you can see is you can see the display inside these windows. Right. So now, first thing you want to do is grab your video capture device or your video camera. In fact, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just minimize my, I'm going to create a new video capture device so I can show you properly. So I'll do a new like webcam capture, and I'll just call this one Test Chat Cam, so that you can see what I'm getting at. Test Chat Cam. Choose my camera that I'm using, which is Chroma Cam. Now you will need, if you've got green screen or a green screen effect. In this case, I'm using Chroma Cam. I've got a green screen behind me, but I'm using Chroma Cam to actually create a green screen because it works quite effectively. It's a little glitchy some parts of it. It doesn't look perfect, but Chroma Cam works very, very well for creating artificial green screens without the need for a green screen. All right, so now we're just going to apply a filter to that. And we're just going to apply a green screen filter, chroma key filter to that. So that gets rid of that green screen. So you can see me double now. Now if I turn off the other video capture device, which was the first one, turn that off, make sure that all my screens are locked except for my camera that I'm going to move around, and I can move this around to where I want. Now you'll see that my image is overlaying on top of the actual frame, and I want it to appear more in the frame. So all you do there is grab on your sources, the test cam chat, and pull your webcam down so that it is below the test chat, so that it's below your background. So now you'll see what happens. See if I'm sizing myself up. What happens is my head disappears in the frame, but it doesn't look like I'm jumping out of the frame. Okay, so then you simply size it to what you want. Done. Lock it in. There you have your now camera frame. Now if we launch a game, for example, and this is where I'm saying with the backgrounds, if we launch a game, and we will launch something simple like Sea of Thieves. Well, not saying that Sea of Thieves is simple. I'm just saying that it is. You can see the game loading up in the background. All right. That's because it's on display capture, not on game capture. So now what you would do, of course, is you would have a game capture. So you would add a game capture screen, and you will add, I'll call it SOT test. And you allow it to capture that source, then capture the specific window, Sea of Thieves, and then go done. And now, of course, the game has covered the whole screen. What do you do there? Click on it in your sources, drag it down underneath everything. Make sure it's on the bottom of everything. Okay? Now that it's still unlocked, but it still doesn't look right. But it's unlocked. So all you have to do is size it. We're just going to size it to fit the window for the current game. And turn off the video capture device. Oh, we want display capture turned off. There we are. So once you turned off display capture, because I was on display capture before, now we're on game capture, and we can move that around and size it, you see. So we just click on that, make sure everything else is locked while you're working on the one screen. So you can size your game capture screen, move that into place, and size it up to how you like it to fit that window. There we have our current game is showing. Simple. Lock it in when it's done. That is our chat screen. Of course, then all you do is add your chat window, which is very simple. You just go into your Streamlabs sources, your chat box, pick your chat box, go add source. Let's call it test chat box. Add source again, and then you can change all your visual settings and everything as well. I'm not going to worry about changing any visual settings at the moment. Here is our chat window. We just want to drag this down and size it down into our window. Now, if you don't know this, if you hold shift and then hold your left mouse button, you can drag the sides out like that. Simple, simple, simple. There we are. There is our chat window in place. Lock it down. And to test it, I will simply issue a command in chat to see if it works properly. If our chat window is all working, I will just do say shout out Frosty. I don't know. Well, I won't actually. The shout outs won't work because I haven't got shout outs installed. I'll just go type something. This is a test message. There we are, and you can see it come up in the chat window. Very simple, very, very simple. So that is how you do an overlay. And if you want something in your background, if you want something behind you, you can put a picture behind you. If you're using something like I use, like Chroma Cam, it's excellent. You can just put something behind you like that. or you can put an animation behind you or a video behind you, whatever you want to do. And because that is sticking out, all I have to do is just resize it, resize the window. So if I go to my test cam chat, which is that one, unlock it, and I just hold down the shift and drag that in, there we are. Now you can see that will resize me a little bit, but that's fine. That's because I put the background in. But that is how you do an overlay screen, guys. So now we've got our current game, we've got our text chat, we've got our chat screen there, and as I say, if you're using something like I use, which is Chroma Cam, it's very, very simple, cost effective. Put any sort of image behind you if you want. You could say, well, I'm in the office today, so there we are, sitting in the office, blah, blah, blah. We're watching what's going on. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, this DIY video. I hope you got something out of it. And if you did, please, as I said, leave a like, comment, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. If you want more of these, I'm happy to do them. Let me know. Don't forget, as I said, if you want information on how to do the technical side of things with Streamlabs, you need to go over to BehavingBeardly's DIY videos. He's put a lot of effort into those videos. A lot of time is taken to do them. I certainly appreciate the work that he's done because he's helped me a lot too. So enjoy. Thanks a lot. And we'll catch you next time on the Frosty Nut Show. Don't forget, tune into our stream every night of the week at the moment, unless things change. Good night from the Frosty Nut. Bye-bye.